If you want to start and create your very own successful talk show online, I'm going to go through everything you need to do from start to finish. This is the most important video you're going to watch on this topic. Make sure you come on back. How's it going, Nez Nation? Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm going to go through everything you need to create a successful talk show right this very second. First thing I want to talk about is, number one, what is the benefit of starting a talk show online? Why should I start online and not go traditional means and, maybe through radio or, get funding and broadcast on, tried and true networks on radio, or reach and pitch out to studios, TV, Hollywood, etc. I think the reason that starting online is just much more practical, feasible, and beneficial is because A, you don't need a ton of capital to start. You don't need a ton of money to get started. You've got all these amazing free platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all these places Twitch, that you can start amazing talk shows with a very viable, practical budget. Also, I think that the same reason why you see companies like HBO, you see companies like, NBC and other kind of traditional media, if you will, start to implement online streaming services and take their content online, is because that's where the attention is. And so we're in the attention business. So having hosted multiple podcasts and multiple talk shows and, hosting a current talk show live stream podcast right now, I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to go check it out. I have a thing or two to say about this. And, I've got the #1 rated personal branding podcast on iTunes. We've got over 100 5-star plus reviews. And so I'm really, really proud of this video. And I know you're going to get a ton of value, and especially stick around until the end, because you're going to get so much out of it. Not only the practical tools, but also qualitative and higher macro kind of, details and ways in which you can really create something that's going to have a long lasting power in your life, your personal life, and especially in your brand or business. And so that's why it's so important to start with number one, which is, picking a topic or theme for your show and really understanding that this is something that's going to represent you. And plus, if you're not talking about something, or you haven't decided that this theme or topic properly identifies who you are inside here, and it really speaks to your kind of inner core desire, your inner core kind of value, guess what? You're going to burn out really, really fast. And there's one thing about creating a talk show that's successful online. You have to understand that this is a long game. If you think that you're just going to jump on here, start going live on YouTube or start going live on Facebook, and you're going to get this huge Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show type of audience and recognition and notoriety and Monet, aka money, you need to click off this video immediately, because this video is not for you. I never, ever want to advocate that any of this stuff is easy, that any of this stuff is sort of a get-rich-quick scheme or anything like that. Everything that I'm going to talk about, I have implemented myself, but it absolutely takes vigilance. It takes hard work. It takes dedication. It takes commitment. That's why I'm focusing so much on this first one, topic or theme. Pick something that that you're going to be energized, and it's something that you really feel strongly about, you feel very passionately about, because that is going to carry you through the bumps, the hiccups, the mistakes, the kind of sort of crestfallen days and moments, which are going to happen with anything that you do in life, but especially trying to create a talk show online. Number two is, it's all about presentation. Number two, I'm talking about presentation here. You want to have a professional presentation, but the reason I'm a little bit hesitant here to kind of jump and dive into this is because I don't want you to overthink this, and I don't want you to think that equipment, audio, lighting, camera, all of these things are, whatever platform you use. I don't want you to think that this is something that, should impede you from getting started. And I don't want you to break the bank and go spend $2,000 on a professional podcasting mic. I'm also not in the camp that says that, it doesn't matter whatever equipment you get. There's a lot of people who create shows, and there's a lot of people who create powerful brands just with their iPhone. You'll be amazed. I mean, when I was starting in this whole thing, I've been in the online space for over 2 decades. I mean, if we would have had what you guys have right now with your iPhones and your amazing devices that you carry around in your back pocket, I mean, holy macadamia nut, I would have created 1,000 more podcasts probably. But see, it wasn't like that back in the day. And so one of the things that I would say is, if you're really serious about this, and you really, really want to try this out, but you don't want to, break the bank, just start small, start simple, and use what you have. But what I use, and I'll leave links in the description down below, I've got an entire playlist for my live stream podcast talk show that we do every single Sunday, plus my interview show, which I bring on guests, and it's a real kind of traditional talk show online. I have playlists down below in the description or on my YouTube channel. Go check it out. But, the software that I use, and I've used every single software, and whether you want to go live or not, and I'll talk about that later, whether you want to do a live talk show with an actual audience or you want to do a pre-recorded talk show. I'll talk about that in just a second. I use a very specific platform, a very specific web-based software called StreamYard is my staple software. You might have heard of this, you may not have, and I've got a free link in the description down below so you can do a free trial and just to check it out and get a taste. I have tried everything, y'all. And not only does this amazing tool give you that credibility and create that real professional presentation for your show, which is really important for your brand. It's really important if you want to try to get high profile guests, because, the value of perception is sometimes even more important than the value itself. And so if you can combine the two, you're invincible. But the value of perception is a really important thing, not only in kind of talk show, but in business and life. And so I've tried them all. I've used every single platform, tool, software that you can imagine, including Zoom. And I know some of you guys are really big on using Zoom, but this one has really everything that you need. It makes it so super convenient, super easy. You can get a free trial and just test it out. You're going to want to upgrade. I promise you're going to want to upgrade because it's totally economical and it's totally feasible. It's not expensive at all. And it's just changed my entire talk show and made it so much more just convenient and easy. And I'm here to make this easy for you guys. And so you can launch your show today, not tomorrow, not 2 years from now, but today. It's really, really important to me. So it's important to have a kind of idea, at least some kind of strategy when it comes to professional presentation. And this platform that I just mentioned, StreamYard, makes it super, super easy. Even if you don't want to go live. A lot of people think StreamYard is only for live video, live streaming, live talk show. Not true. I actually use it for my pre-recorded podcast guests and coaching calls too, because I run an agency where I help, individuals and businesses brand themselves online. So even for my consulting, I use this amazing platform. Okay. So that's number 2. Number 3, guests. This is a really big one. Now, you want to have a talk show. I want to talk about guests. I have an entire video where I talk about the biggest mistakes that people make when they're creating a talk show. I've done a lot on this topic. I've done a lot of research. I've been hosting talk shows my whole life. I want to say a couple of things before I get into kind of the biggest and best ways for you to get, really good guests that serve your audience. And I just said it right there, serve your audience. If you want to have a talk show that, is going to have longevity and have staying power and really builds a community, which could build your business and brand, you have to understand that this show has nothing to do with you. Even if you're having fun and having a blast, which I do, if you really want it to be successful, you have to think about your audience. So don't just have your friends come on or just anybody come on your show. Be very specific and be very strategic on who you invite on your show. I get requests every day. Hey, Nez, I want to be on your show. Hey, Nez, I'd be a perfect guest for your show. Hey, Nez, can I come on your show? Well, what's in it for my audience? Why do you want to be on my show? Just to be on my show? Or do you actually have some kind of value you can bring to you guys, Nez Nation? And that's how I want you to go about it too. When you are picking guests, when you are inviting guests, to your show. And I have a full video on best ways to do that. I'll leave that in the description down below. Make sure that these are guests that can bring some real strong value. There's so many choices out there, y'all. If you want your talk show to be successful, if you want your talk show to really create a splash and stand out from the noise, if you're just two guys talking about yourselves and having, just a chit chat and it doesn't relate to the audience, you're not going to have a successful talk show. I guarantee it. Bring on guests that will bring value to your show. So for example, a couple of guests that I had on very recently, I had a couple of guys who have been doing live streaming for a very, very long time. My audience are, particularly people who are either looking to advance their career, build their business, or build their online presence so that they can grow more and earn more. And so live streaming is a great way to do that. It's a great format, just like having a talk show, that can enable my audience to do that. So I had these guys at Live Streaming Tech, Dale and Walt, if you're watching, big shout out to you. I had them come on my show and talk about the best ways to go live and the best ways to create a live stream broadcast. And so, I'll leave a link in the description to that video as well. It was a fantastic show. And so that has relationship, that has alignment with who I am, what I want to do, and what I want to bring to the table for you guys. So when you're picking your guests, don't just have anybody on. Be particular, even in the beginning. And the cool thing about as you get going and as you get cooking and as you grow, the beautiful thing is that you can start to reach out to high-profile guests as your show gets bigger, which only builds your brand and expands your brand because those people may invite you to be on their shows. So this is about awareness. Again, it's about eyeballs and earballs. And so don't take inviting guests lightly. I want you to be very strategic, and I promise you it'll pay massive dividends in the end. Okay, next, the number 3 thing that you need to really make sure that you implement and that you kind of adopt so you can have a successful talk show: consistency. All the greatest talk shows, from the Tonight Show to any talk show, any show at all, consistency and having very specific days and times that you go on the air or that you post or that you publish is instrumental to building your audience and building a long-lasting talk show. You're nowhere without the audience, okay? So if you're just doing this for yourself, then just record talk show with you and your friends hanging out, and you don't have to post it anywhere. You don't need to create anything online. You're here because you want to build a successful talk show. Well, guess what? If you don't have a specific day and time, I don't know how many of you guys remember this, but do you remember must-see Thursdays on NBC when I think it was Seinfeld, Friends, Will and Grace? I mean, there would be parties, watch parties. People would get together on must-see, Thursdays or Wednesdays. I can't remember what day it was, because they knew that starting at 8 o'clock, their favorite shows were going to be on, and they could count on that week after week. I'm not saying that you have to create a show every single week, but consistency is really important because you want to implant in the minds of your audience that, hey, on Tuesdays at 7, on Sundays at 9:30 a.m., which is when my show airs, you got to be there. There's nowhere else on planet Earth you need to be, but be there with my show or be there with your show. And so consistency, having consistent day and times, I see this happen too many times with failing talk shows. They just post whenever, or they don't have a set schedule, or they go live whenever they feel like it. That's a big risk. If you have a set day and time and you make that very, very clear, even during your broadcast, but especially in your marketing and promotional materials, that is going to imprint. It's going to leave a tattoo in your audience's mind that I need to be on Nez's show every Sunday at 9:30 a.m. I want them to come to your show. So create that level of, this is the time that you can count on this delivery, this service to you, and watch what happens. This is a big one to create a successful talk show. Make sure that you have consistent days and times and that your audience is aware of it. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about is the kind of pros and cons for live shows, pre-recorded shows, podcast, video podcast. I want to talk about the differences and which one may be better for you. Now, I'm a huge proponent of live streaming. I mean, I absolutely love live video. I've been doing it forever. I'm an early adopter, like I said, of all these different platforms. There's nothing like doing a live talk show because you get that immediacy and you also get that beautiful kind of reaction and real-time interaction, which is even more important. When you're building a brand, which your talk show is a brand. I mean, the Oprah Winfrey Show is a brand. The Tonight Show is a brand. When you're doing this, it's really important that you understand that you're not just there to kind of, produce a good show. You're not just there to build a business. You're not just there to build a brand. You're there to build trust. You're there to build, interaction. You're there to build relationships. That's really, really important. And so I love live video. I think there's nothing better than live streaming. And all of these platforms, I would definitely say YouTube and Facebook are the top two if you want to do a live show. I think it's really, really powerful. Now, having said that, I know a lot of people have a hard time or feel very reticent, especially if you're just beginning, going live and hitting that live button. And believe you me, I've been doing it forever and I still get nervous before I hit the live button, and it's never going to go away. You're going to get better and you're going to get more comfortable, just like anything in life, but that nervosity is never going to go away. And so why not try it out at least experiment. If there's one thing I know for sure is that imperfection of quality and imperfection of execution is more tolerated in live video than anywhere else. So if you start mumbling, fumbling, or making mistakes when you're going live, which always happens, it's tolerated. It's actually more tolerated than any other medium. So remember that. It's really, really, really important. Now, you can do a pre-recorded show. You can do a video interview. I would definitely advocate that you do some kind of video with your talk show because video is the most popular video is the most popular form of content, and it gets the most engagement as of this recording, and I don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon. But I'm also a big believer in podcasting. Audio is very huge. I have a podcast. As a matter of fact, my live stream video talk show and my other guest interview traditional talk show are all turned into podcasts. Why? Because podcasting is extremely viable, and it's a real great way to build a connection with your audience. And remember, it's all about attention. A lot of people are listening to podcasts. Podcast popularity has skyrocketed in the last 3 to 5 years, especially now with COVID and everything that's going on as of this recording. It's just exponentially risen, and it's not going anywhere. It's going to get more and more popular, especially with things like, the Apple Home, Google Pod, or is it Apple Pod, Google Home, whatever, Alexa, these sort of smart speakers and audio technologies at home. It's becoming more and more practical. So here's the cool thing, and this is what I would recommend that you do. Whether you do pre-recorded or whether you do a live stream show, whatever platform you choose, I would definitely, because it's so easy, repurpose that content into a podcast. It's as simple as just detaching the audio in whatever editing software you use and then placing that in a podcast. If you want to know the technical particulars to that, just Google it. I use Anchor for my podcast. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Anchor is the easiest way to turn your videos into podcasts, and I highly recommend you do both, because why not? It's so feasible. It's so practical. You want to contextualize to each platform, but it's so powerful. You can get more bang for your buck. I think repurposing content is like the eighth wonder of the world. It's so phenomenal that you can get all these miles out of one piece of content. Is phenomenal. It's just amazing. I love it more than anything. And so I would advise that you do definitely both. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about, I believe this is number 6. When you're first starting out, but actually even with, kind of the long term as well, I don't want you to worry about views. I don't want you to worry about downloads. I don't want you to worry about vanity metrics, followers, subscribers, audience analytics. Don't worry about any of that, especially in the beginning. when you're just starting out, I know so many people who quit when they're just inches away from success. When you're just starting out, just worry about one thing and one thing only. Put your head down, roll your sleeves up, and get to work. Just try to make the best quality show possible for your audience. That's it. Just worry about that when you're beginning. And I want to add to this, kind of like a bonus, don't be afraid to be audacious. Don't be afraid to be you. Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to bring your personality to the table. You have to exploit your uniqueness for the service of others. This translates, I've said this many times on my channel and podcast. You need to exploit your uniqueness to the service, for the service of others. Why? Because there's so many people doing this. The market is so saturated. The only way you're going to stand out is by completely encapsulating yourself and sharing your true self, your real unique personality, and stop trying to be like everybody else. Everybody else is taken. You're just going to be a watered down version of that person that you model yourself after. So it's really important that you really dive deep into your own chest and really bring your personality, bring your style, bring your unique perspective to the table. It will make all the difference in the world. So just to summarize here really quickly, I think that building an online talk show is extremely beneficial because of the economics and the logistics. It's just easier. You don't need to have a production team, an executive producer. I do everything myself, by the way. My whole talk show, live stream podcast, I do everything myself. It's very, very important that you pick a strong topic or theme that really aligns with who you are. This is all about identity. It's all about purpose. It's also a great way to avoid burnout because by having that theme, that identity, it's going to take you through the humps and the bumps and the ups and downs, the ebb and flows and the hiccups. And burnout will be less likely to take over you. Next, number 3, presentation. Again, I have a link in the description down below if you really want to look good and look professional and have the value of perception. Make sure that you reach out to guests who are strategically aligned with your audience's needs, wants, and desires. Don't just pick anybody. Be strategic with your guests because it's really, really important. Again, I've got a video in the description down below that will help you with all the mistakes to avoid when you're starting a talk show and how to invite guests, and really walks you through everything. Consistency, pick a day and time. Be consistent with that because people are ritualistic. This gets into end user psychology. People are ritualistic. So Wednesdays at 7 to 9, they're doing something. Tuesdays from 9 to 10, they're doing something. They have those rituals. I'm either at the gym, I'm watching my favorite show, I'm doing my favorite activity, whatever. People are ritualistic. You can exploit that. You need to integrate with that if you want to have a successful talk show. Live video versus pre-recorded versus podcast versus video next. I think you should do all of them, experiment with all of them, try all of them, see what fits, see what feels good. There's no perfect formula or perfect answer to this. I do it all because I love it and I know it works and I'm living proof that it works, but test it out. You may be like, you know what, Nez, I only want to do podcasting. I don't want to do video. I don't want to do live streaming. That's fine. Everything I'm talking about still applies. Whether it's live, pre-recorded, podcast, or video, it still all applies. And then last but not least, don't worry about vanity metrics. Don't worry about followers. Don't worry about subscribers. Don't worry about the analytics for the first, as a matter of fact, I would say for the first 18, 24 months, don't even think about it. Don't even look at your analytics. Just try to create the best possible show. And then once you've really gotten into a groove, then you can start looking at what's working and what's not, because obviously you want to do that eventually, and then you tinker and you adapt. This is an adaptation game, just like creating an online business. I talk a lot about that on my channel. Just like creating a personal brand, I talk a lot about that on my channel. Just like advancing your career, I talk a lot about that on my channel. This is all about adaptation. You're constantly tinkering. Things change all the time. Markets change all the time. Audiences change all the time. You change too. So don't be afraid to experiment and be boldly you. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you got a ton of value from it. Make sure you go check out these other videos that complement this one because they're just jam-packed with value. Make sure you subscribe down below and hit that like button if you got some value out of this. I'll see you in the next video. I'll see you over there.